Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to my talk about the mother tongue matters, embracing multilingualism for inclusivity and empowerment. I'm Lucy Amelia Durance, and I hope you enjoy this presentation because the mother tongue matters. So, before we begin, hello, salut, hola, bonjour. There are so many ways to say hello to make people feel welcome all around the world. What we're going to discuss today includes what is the mother tongue, why does the native language matter, multilingual teaching approaches and group dynamics, interactive storytelling events, multilingual language learning communities, multilingual events, and embracing multilingualism for inclusivity. So, what is the mother tongue? We're going to look at 4 different definitions. Cambridge University Press defines the mother tongue as the first language that you learn when you are a baby, rather than a language learned at school or as an adult. This is not dissimilar from the HarperCollins definition, which says your mother tongue is the first language that you learned when you were a baby, rather than a language learnt at school or as an adult. And then we have Oxford University Press, which describes it as a person's native language, the first language learnt at home in childhood that is still understood. And finally, Merriam-Webster describes it as the language that a person has grown up speaking from early childhood. So, of all these 4 definitions, can you relate to any of them? Which one would you choose? But just a moment. We have a bit of controversy because, of course, the term mother tongue is gender biased. It suggests that mothers are the primary caregivers. However, it's not only the mothers that are responsible for linguistic development. It also contains patriarchal assumptions. This term reinforces the views that undervalue the role of fathers or society in language transmission, but yet they also play an important role. If we discuss the concept in other languages, for example, in Russian, the way they say mother tongue, it means native language. Or in Japanese, it translates to language of one's homeland. So, scholars and institutions and academics often use alternative terms such as first language, L1, native language, or heritage language to describe the concept more neutrally. So let's dive deeper into the definition. So what is the mother tongue? Let's describe it as the native language. The native language is the language a person learns from birth and uses most naturally in daily life. This language is acquired from caregivers or the environment. It forms a person's strongest linguistic foundation. And it's more than just a language. It's the cornerstone of a person's identity, learning, and connection to the world. The native language is usually the language in which a person thinks and expresses emotions most comfortably and provides a foundation for learning, helping the acquisition of additional languages and academic knowledge. In multilingual environments, a person may have more than one native language if they grow up using multiple languages equally. So, what do you think about this term? Do you find yourself more identified with this term? So, why does the native language matter? The native language nurtures identity. It sets you up for academic success. It's the language you use for your thought development. It's the way you express your thoughts and feelings. It creates intergenerational connections. It's your voice, your self-expression. It's also fundamental for your emotional well-being. Of course, as well, your native language sets you up and prepares you to read and write. It's your literacy foundation. And of course, this provides you access to many opportunities in life. It's a natural way of learning. And of course, if we are to foster the native language and multilingualism, we are going to create global awareness. And we're going to become more understanding and more empathetic. We're going to create authentic communication and communicative situations. And finally, this will guarantee the preservation of minority languages, and it will give you a sense of empowerment. So this is why the native language matters. Have you ever been abroad and not understood the language? Many years ago, even though I was fluent in French and Spanish and German, I went to Greece. I did not understand a thing. I felt totally lost. So imagine if you feel that you're sinking as an adult, imagine how young children feel when they enter the classroom and everybody is whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, it's impossible to understand what's going on. You feel out of your depth. So this is why it's so important to foster the native language and create group dynamics. So how can we do this? First of all, the power of hello. By teaching people and using the word hello in the native language, we are creating a sense of belonging for our students. We're encouraging confidence and participation. We're linking cultures and building connections. We're laying the foundation for inclusivity, especially if you're opening the doors to multilingual learning and you're using many different greetings within the classroom. International greetings are so important because international greetings change when you go to different places around the world. For example, when you go to Britain, you are not expected to kiss on the cheeks like in the majority of other European countries. The Brits greet with a simple handshake. And of course, if you go to kiss them on the cheek, they're going to be in shock. So it's important to learn the social etiquette. Just after COVID and lockdown, when it was time to go back to the classroom, I was looking for ways of greetings without using verbal contact and non-verbal contact. So I created an international greeting song. And this was amazing because my students felt more comfortable and they were also becoming open-minded and learning about how people greeted around the world. It's not just a name either, you know? Shakespeare said, "A rose by any other name would still smell as sweet, yet your name is so important. It's your identity." Here you have my name and my son's name in Chinese. There's a wonderful book called The Name Jar, which expresses the importance of giving your students the name and using their name in the classroom. I have a big problem because in Spain, it's very, very difficult for an English person to say the name George. And I've been teaching for over 20 years and I still cannot say Jorge in Spanish. Every time I try, my students laugh. So in the end, always my poor little Georges, they begin to accept that that is going to be their name in English. You also need to take into account the student's needs. Imagine arriving in a foreign country, in a place where you need to use the bathroom, and yet you don't know how to ask and you don't know where the bathroom is. So we can use pictograms to help the students understand the important aspects related to their needs. And note, here in English, we say, "Can I go to the toilet, please?" However, in Spanish, we simply say, "¿Puedo ir al baño?" Can I go toilet? Because in Spanish, it's not necessary to say please or thank you. You must always take into account the social etiquette behind the language, because different cultures, if you don't say please or thank you in English, you will be considered rude. Whereas in Spanish, I'm always, please, thank you, and they think that I'm a bit over the top. However, if you come across as rude in England, then that's quite difficult. So we can also use things like, can I drink water, please? Can you say that again, please? What does blah, blah, blah mean? And then you can create a word wall. And that way students feel far more comfortable adapting to the lessons. Sign language. I don't know if you're familiar with sign language, but for example, baby sign language is a great way of allowing people to communicate. Sign language supports communication across languages because it's gestural. It enhances understanding and memory. It encourages inclusivity and respect because the whole class can communicate using sign language, and that way they are all on an equal footing. It reduces anxiety and builds confidence. So let's begin a few quick, easy lessons. These are based on the American Sign Languages. So we have hello, you wave your hand to the forehead. Please, you make a circle on your chest. Thank you, you touch your fingers on your chin and move them outwards. Yes, okay, you make the fist and move it up and down like you're nodding. No, you do it the other way and you tap with your thumb. Water, you make a W shape on your chin. Toilet, okay, you make a fist and shake like a T sound. Sit, you put the hands on the palm, or stand, and finished. So I hope you like this quick, basic lesson in sign language. And if you want to find out more, you can always Google it and use YouTube, and you can find many different ways of using sign language like this video included below. Technology. Nowadays, we need to use technology as an ally. I'm sure that everybody here today either has a computer or a smartphone. A smartphone or a computer can be the key to communication with foreign students. You can use Google Translate. You can even get your phone to communicate with your students and pronounce the different words and even have a conversation with the students using your telephone or the computer nowadays. You can use things like this, which is an interactive photo album that you can get to speak to the students. You can use audiobooks, of course. You can buy buttons that when you press them, they communicate in the different language. You can use talking pens or talking pegs. Here I have my talking butterfly that, for example, when you press it, okay, hello, I'm a talking butterfly. And these are magnetic, so you can hang them, or they have pegs, so you can display the vocabulary and the words you want all around the classroom. You can use the microphone, the talking pen, which can help students to learn to read. You can use talking boxes, a mystery box. You put the object inside and they can discuss the object, or they can learn about numbers or phonics, all sorts of different activities you can do with your talking box. And finally, you can also use digital stories. For example, if you look at my talk for World Teachers Day, I talk about traveling tales. So you can also connect with other students around the world and work on digital projects together. There's also a program called Tandem, for example, to set up exchanges. So you can use lots of different things. Another thing to help build good group dynamics is to use simple themes. For example, me. Everybody can talk about themselves. Learning can begin with me. The students can talk about themselves. So it's a great starting point with your newcomer students. Also, we can talk about feelings and emotions. We can play peekaboo and we can express happy, sad. Using the TPR and the body is so useful to express yourself. We can talk about the family, home life, pets, food, of course. Food is just so different around the world, and you can learn so much about different cultures when you talk about their food. And of course, I wouldn't be British if I didn't suggest the weather as a topic. We also need to talk about the students' identity. Their cultural identity is so important. You can use art lessons because art is an amazing way that's a visual way to express their feelings, their needs, their identity. And you don't even need language. Art is a language in itself. Food, again, as we said earlier, food is a great international way of communicating. And you can organize cultural events. You can talk about your favorite recipes. You can share different foods. Flags. When I started a project years ago with my 4-year-olds about cultural identity, I took different flags and chopped them up and made little puzzles. So it was a great activity for the children to carry out in their playtime. Also, I like to use globes and maps of the world. And for example, the students could then try and relate the different flags with the different countries on the maps. Outside my school, we actually have 5 flagpoles. So it was a great way to encourage inquiry-based learning. And finally, you can even create your own class flag to create your own classroom identity. Clothing. Clothing also forms part of our identity. And we also have the traditional costumes, the traditional dresses, and the outfits that people wear around the world. You can even get amazing Montessori cards with clothing around the world, traditions. There is so much you can learn discussing traditions. For example, wobbly teeth. It's not the same in every country. So, for example, in the UK, it was the tooth fairy who used to come. However, in Spain, it's a little mouse called Ratoncito Pérez. So you can use stories like the tale of the tooth mouse to integrate different cultures and the cultural identity. Literature. Literature is not just about books. It's about jokes, newspapers, poetry. You can use so many different materials within the classroom to work on the students' cultural identity. Social etiquette, as I've said already, it's so important to respect the social norms of each country. And music and dance, you can learn so much through music and dance about different cultures. And again, music is another language. So, the power of song. For example, nursery rhymes and traditional songs are the way we learn our native language. Action and movement songs, the James Asher's TPR. It's amazing if you carry out the action, because when you relate the action to the vocabulary, you are more likely to learn it. You can use multilingual and bilingual songs to encourage that language-rich environment. Call and response songs, seasonal and holiday songs, and storytelling songs. Now, I would like to challenge you to try and guess, because also pictograms and visuals are so important in the multilingual classroom. So I would like you to look at these visuals and try and guess which nursery rhyme, which action and movement song, which multilingual and bilingual song, which call and response song, which seasonal and holiday song, and which storytelling song I could be talking about here. If you don't want to know, look away now and press pause, because now I'm about to reveal the answers. So, drum roll please. Can you guess any of them? So, for example, nursery rhymes and traditional songs, we have Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Here we have head, shoulders, knees, and toes. We have Bailamos, by Enrique Iglesias, which combines English and Spanish. Who Stole the Cookie from the Cookie Jar is a great call and response song. And you can adapt the words to this song and use who's in the English class today? Lucy's in the English class today. Who, me? Yes, you. So I am. How do you do? And we can learn again the social etiquette of how British people shake hands. And we can go on with different people around the classroom. And again, we're involving the names, which is such an important part of the student's identity. The song Feliz Navidad by Boney M. For example, this song is about Christmas. Obviously, you have to make the decision if you are going to discuss traditional festivals, because sometimes there are cultures that don't want to discuss Christmas because it's not part of their culture. So either you can avoid all cultural traditions, or you can make your students open-minded and become aware of different celebrations and different traditions and different festivities around the world. For example, today is the 19th of March, and in Valencia, we are celebrating Fallas. And that is a very special festival unique to Valencia. So we can even discuss local festivities, okay, because it's not celebrated in the whole of Spain. And finally, story songs. We have, for example, The Wheels on the Bus, but also There Was an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly. I don't know why she swallowed a fly is a great story song. And that brings us to the importance of the power of story. If you've seen my World Teachers presentation, you will know that I love story and the importance of story in the language classroom. Stories support language acquisition. They build cultural awareness and identity. They enhance social emotional learning. They promote active participation and creativity, and they develop literacy skills across languages. So, for example, comparing folk tales, we've already discussed this on my World Teachers Day presentation. So this is the comparison of the story Little Red Riding Hood and Pretty Salma. So I'm going to skip over this one now. And we're going to discuss about the story of Cinderella, a European folk tale, versus Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, an African folk tale from Zimbabwe. So in Cinderella, we have the wicked stepmother and the stepsisters. And in Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, we have the two sisters, Naisha and Manyara. We have in Cinderella, the magic fairy godmother. And in Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, we have the different animals and nature that are helping the protagonist. Cinderella loses her glass slipper, and Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, the king sets different tests of kindness. In Cinderella, the prince searches for her queen, and in Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, it's the good sister who becomes the queen. So we can create a Venn diagram with the differences, and then in the middle, we can combine the things that are in common. So in both these stories, we have a kind, humble protagonist. We have a mean family member or mean family members. Both protagonists face difficult challenges or tests. Both of them marry royalty, a prince or a king. And both of them are rewarded for their inner beauty. As well as this folktale, I'm sure that in your own culture, for example, I know that in Mexico, there's another version of Cinderella called Adelita. So you could even create a triple Venn diagram, or you can talk about your own folktales. I would love to know which folktales you would recommend that we can compare and contrast. I'm looking forward to a good discussion there. Multilingual fonts, because obviously we don't always use the same alphabet. For example, here we can use different ways to practice the European alphabet. Okay, we have the A, the K, but we can also introduce our students to different types of literacy. So we can teach them about the Chinese font or the Arabic font or the Inuit font. We can, by doing this, we are supporting cross-cultural understanding. We are enhancing cognitive flexibility. We're encouraging creative expression. We're exploring fonts that inspire creative storytelling. And we can prepare for a digital world. Here as well, again, we have the Russian Cyrillic alphabet, okay? And you can also use digital screens like this, which have different lights, okay? You can just use mini blackboards or mini whiteboards to help the students to practice developing their ways of writing different fonts. Okay, so another important aspect of multilingual teaching is to create a learning community. I also gave a talk for the British Council about learning communities, if you would like to go back over that one. But it's important to create multicultural events. We can arrange art projects. We can play cultural games, introduce learning buddies. This is particularly important when you have a newcomer. They need that peer interaction to help them out. We can share international cuisine, as we've already mentioned. We can celebrate traditional events. We can create a multilingual environment, set up sporting events and quizzes. We can create multilingual show and tell activities. Show and tell activities are so important because they make the students feel involved. They make them feel confident. And in a show and tell activity where the students bring aspects of their cultural lives, for example, their traditional clothing or objects related to their culture, they feel confident. And they're also developing a sense of oracy, which will be so useful for future life. And we can organize musical, literary, and cultural events. For example, my first talk with the British Council was about poetry slams, but we can organise talent shows. My school fortunately works with a chain of schools, so we organise lots of musical events within the group of schools. You can organise debating teams, sports days. There are so many different events you can organise. And we can encourage the students, the families, the staff, the local community to participate. Which activities would you organise? We can also organise multilingual events for special days. For example, the International Day of Education in January, International Mother Language Day in February, World Poetry Day in March, World Book Day in April, World Day for Cultural Diversity in May, World Refugees Day in June, International Translation Day in September, Indigenous Peoples Day in October, World Children's Day in November, and Human Rights Day in December. Celebrating and giving reference to these special days is a really important way to involve the community. For example, recently for the International Mother Language Day at my school, they created a book swap. So students would bring books in their own mother tongue, and this means that we now have these books for our school library as well. And also, families came into the classrooms and read stories in their mother tongue, and it's been such a rewarding experience. Embracing multilingualism for inclusivity. Language is a bridge for social justice and tolerance. Multilingual storytelling helps make people become more empathetic. Language awareness is important to combat bias. Young students are not biased. They're not racist. So we need to help them from an early age to combat this. We can use sign language as an inclusive tool. We can use multilingual peer support and buddy systems. And we can recognize international days for language and inclusion. Here I have a large selection of different books. For example, Race Cars speaks about black and white people and the different races using the analogy of cars. What Makes Us Human talks about the importance of language. Someone Just Like You, okay, because we are all the same. The Anti-Racist Baby is such an amazing book to promote from early ages. My Many Colored Days by Dr. Seuss. And then we have, for example, the Black Lives Matter movement. So we can foment this from an early age using stories like My Hair is a Garden or Hair Love, or We Are All Works of Art. We can use art and get our students to create self-portraits, and that way they are representing themselves. M is for Menelin. We Are Happy in Our Skin. Skin Again. Chocolate Me. Shades of People, or Black is a Rainbow Color, or Shades of Black. I do a great experiment with my young students where we use tights of different color, and we have white tights and black tights, and then all the different skin tones in the middle, and the students try on the tights to reach the conclusion that no one is black or white. We also do a great egg experiment with eggs, and following Martin Luther King's teachings, we take a brown coloured egg and a white coloured egg. We crack both the eggs open and we realise that even though they are different on the outside, they are both the same on the inside. And it's so important to teach that to our students from an early age to create an inclusive environment. So, multilingualism is more than just learning languages. It's about building bridges, fostering inclusion, and creating a world where every voice matters. Let's unite the world through a love of languages. You can see the bibliography for the different dictionaries I used, for the different storybooks referenced in my presentation. This is just a small selection of all the amazing stories you can use. And additional suggestions for further reading include authors such as Baker, Cummins, The Translanguaging Classroom, Bilingual Life and Reality, The Multilingual Turn, Translanguaging, and Multilingual Education. All of these are amazing books that can help you transform your classroom from monolingual into multilingual. So, what are your biggest takeaways from this teaching? I really look forward to hearing your thoughts and ideas online and expanding the debate live in April. I hope to see you soon, and thank you for listening. Oh, merci, danke, grazie. Okay? And if you would like to contact me in the meantime, you can use my LinkedIn address at www.linkedin.com/Lucy Durance, or my Instagram at Lucy Durance Books, or you can also join my WhatsApp channel. So thank you for joining us, and I look forward to carrying on the debate and learning more about your thoughts on multilingual classrooms.